Thank you all for coming this afternoon. My name is Peter Stanton, and I'm the publisher of the Worcester Business Journal. And on behalf of the Journal and all of our sponsors, we'd like to welcome you to the third annual Manufacturing Summit and Excellence Awards event. The headline of the Worcester Business Journal for our intro story on this year's winners was "Manufacturers are underappreciated." We could have run that photo of Rodney Dangerfield in sort of a Madras coat and plaid pants and said, "We don't get no respect." But that's not true. Honestly, while the industry may be underappreciated for all it contributes to the nation's economy, that is not the case here in Massachusetts. In Central Mass, as well as around the state, manufacturers actually get a lot of respect and a lot of support. Whether it's through a myriad of state-sponsored and funded programs, through local chambers and workforce initiatives, programs at our public schools and colleges, or through organizations like Mass MEP, who provide a number of services and training to help our manufacturers be lean and competitive, the number of organizations and efforts underway to support the community often outstrips any one company's ability to keep up with all the offerings at hand. Secretary of Housing and Economic Development Jay Ash was with us for our inaugural summit two years ago, and we're pleased to have him back again as our keynote this afternoon and to update us on what the state is working on. In addition, we have an excellent panel who will peel back the onion on a myriad of programs providing direct support for manufacturers. The Worcester Business Journal has been all in with our manufacturing coverage for several years now, and the more we dig into what companies in our region are doing, the more great stories we uncover and share with our audience. So manufacturing is an exciting space with innovation percolating under the roof of nearly every facility. And a number of those companies that have been innovating are being honored here this afternoon for their excellent work. So I know we have a couple of state reps who have been planning to join us, Joe McKenna and Hannah Kane. I'm not sure if either is here just yet. Are they? I think this is budget time at the State House, isn't it? This is the last day of budget work, so they may run a little late, but we appreciate their support for this event. I'd also like to thank all the sponsoring organizations who stepped up and helped make this event a reality. All of them have put their support behind the robust manufacturing community we have here in Central Mass, and we appreciate their leadership. Those special thanks go to, and often there's a slide that goes along. There we go. There's our presenting sponsor, Mass MEP, our corporate sponsors, who are S&G Business Consultants, Select Energy, and Webster 5, and our supporting sponsors, who include Clinton Savings Bank, Greenberg, Rosenblatt, Cullen, Bitsoli, PC, James Monroe Wire and Cable Corporation, and Quinsigaming Community College. And our exhibitors, who are Applied Interactive, Greater Boston Manufacturing Partnership, and Net at Work. So thank you to all of them. Let's give them a hand for helping to make this afternoon a reality. To get things started, I want to introduce our presenting sponsor, which is Mass MEP, and John Killam, its president and CEO, is going to have come up for a few remarks. John. John, there's a shortcut on the way home, right down to the right here. No, it gets more dramatic, though, when you take the longer steps, isn't it? All right.
Thank you, Peter. Peter, thank you and the Worcester Business Journal for putting on this event. I know this is the third year that we've done this, and look, we can't celebrate manufacturing enough, so thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the Manufacturing Summit Excellence Awards. Really proud of the work our manufacturers are doing and proud of all of you. I believe it's a wonderful time to be in manufacturing. I know Peter said that manufacturers are going unrecognized, but we see a different story at Mass MEP. Our state, our federal government is finding new ways to invest in manufacturing and invest in you. So, for example, there are many, many growth opportunities around new technologies. So there's a number of new emerging technologies through the Manufacturing Innovation Institute. Massachusetts calls it M2I2. And these institutes are focused on things like photonics, robotics. We would do flexible electronics. Biopharm is a part of that, as well as smart fabrics. So these technologies, the investments that are being made by the state and the federal government are being evolving, and Mass MEP is working to connect those institutes to you manufacturers, and we'll be looking for ways to help you grow your business, whether it's new materials, new processes, or capital equipment. Ira Moskowitz is here today. If you want to know more about the grant monies and the opportunities around these technologies, I encourage you to speak to Ira. The other thing I wanted to mention, as an affiliate of the NIST MEP organization, we work with every state in the union who has a center just like us in their state supporting manufacturers. And I will tell you that we are the envy of the United States. We are number one in innovation. We are number one in areas of investment for training and development of our people. We have a wonderful program through the Commonwealth Corp that provides training for our incumbent workers to develop their skills. So the message today is this is a great time to be in manufacturing. It's not a bad word. It's a wonderful renaissance, and I look forward to working with all of you in the near future. Thank you.
Okay, and now the introduction of our keynote speaker. So I wrote this morning, and this is my intro. The Baker-Polito administration has had quite a run, and one of the cabinet members who has been large and in charge on the economic development front is Secretary of Housing and Economic Development, Jay Ash. And then at around noon, I said, I got to track him. Where is he today? So I go on his Twitter page, and I read his own little intro, and it says, formerly Chelsea City Manager, I'm large and in charge, there you go, of the state's development activities for the Baker-Polito administration. And how true that is. Large he is. Like when he gets up there, he's going to tower over me, and I'm 6'3", 5'10". But one problem I think I noticed that Jay has is he's on the road with his Twitter account, and he's shooting all kinds of photos where he is. And sometimes the local mayor or city manager shows up from the nose up. You got to bend the camera down a little more to get the full face in there. But anyways, and he's also, I said he's large, he's also in charge. Are you coming up? Are you cutting me off? No, I'm getting ready for it. Oh, okay. Jay's been a key leader at the table for an impressive run of economic wins for the state. And our unemployment rate reflects the boom we've all experienced, hovering today around 3.5%. At our economic forecast event in March, the Fed's Jeff Feuer shared with us the view that a sustained period of unemployment that was running under 4% could be effectively considered full employment. So while 3.5 sure beats the 9.6% rate we hit in 2010, it leads to different challenges. Jay and his team have been out ahead of the curve and working to make sure that manufacturers, as well as the other industries that drive the state's economy, are set up to succeed in the Commonwealth over the long term. He's far from tied to his desk in Boston, as his travels include regular visits in the Central Mass region and throughout the state, including breakfast today in Northampton, right? And East Hampton, and trip over to WPI this afternoon. So he's no stranger to Worcester, and in fact, he's got real Worcester creds. He's actually a Clark grad. So it's nice to have him back in the city of Worcester. Without further ado, please welcome Jay Ash.
Hold on. I've been known to recreate those for regular photographers. Hey, everyone. I am so happy to see you all. So happy to see you all because I got up at 5 in the morning to go to East Hampton. Problem is I live in Danvers. So those of you who don't know Massachusetts geography, Danvers, East Hampton. A really long drive, so I'm making my way back home, and I'm glad to be here. I had to leave at 5 because if I don't leave my house early, I get stuck in traffic, and I always miss my first speech. So My first meeting in, you got it? Awesome. My first speech this morning in East Hampton was at 8 o'clock. But if I leave my house at 6, I'll never get there, so I had to leave at 5. That's the good news, is I got there on time. The bad news is I got there an hour before the first person showed up. So invariably what happens, this happened last week. I had a speech in Springfield. I did the same thing, and I got there actually 2 hours early. I was at the Sheraton in Springfield, found my way to the bar. Of course, there was no bartender there. All that was there was last night's nuts. So I grabbed a couple of nuts, and I heard, "Hey, I like that tie." I was really happy, somebody to talk to, but I looked around, there was nobody there. So I grabbed a few more nuts, and I heard, "That's a really nice suit." Now I'm starting to think I got up too early this morning. I'm starting to hear voices. I look over the bar, nobody's there. I look around. I grab a couple more nuts, and I hear, "You have a nice haircut." And just as I'm about to lose it, a member of the waitstaff comes by, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, is there a speaker on somewhere? I keep on hearing nice things about me." And he said, "Oh, that's the nuts. They're complimentary." Exactly. When you pay your Secretary of Housing and Economic Development what you pay me, that's the humor you get. So it's a great pleasure to be here with you. I really am excited to be back here. I can actually see Clark from here, which is pretty cool. So I spent 4 great years. I should have said I spent 6 great years. That would have been a good joke. But I spent 4 great years here in Worcester going to Clark, and it's always a great pleasure to come back to Worcester. I love Worcester. I love Central Mass. And it's fabulous to be with people that I have a lot of respect for, and that's manufacturers. We're really excited about what's happening in manufacturing. Jack gave my speech already. So what you should know is everything he said times 2, because I tend to inflate. But things are really looking up. We have invested historic amounts of money in research and development because we believe that the key to manufacturing, the key to the economy going forward is innovation. And the more that we innovate, the better we stand against all of our competition. We're not alone in that. The federal government has also advanced this philosophy. Both the Obama administration and now the Trump administration are supporting something called Manufacturing USA, and that's what Jack was talking about that we are supporting. We've made a $100 million commitment to all that research that is going to lead to the commercialization of products and help you manufacturers who are here expand and attract more manufacturing to Massachusetts. Really exciting stuff that's happening there. I talk about the smart fabrics. It's future fabrics of tomorrow. Someday, this is the research that's going on now, someday our clothing will know whether we're hot or cold and will turn on or off depending on what we need. Someday our clothing will be able to tell if like we're in a battlefield and we get injured, we'll be able to send a message to a medic that we've been injured and maybe even start the triage. Someday we'll be able to track where our kids are going by having something on their backpack or in their sneakers, and it's all being researched here in Massachusetts. I have the pleasure of working with lots of businesses, and there's been a lot of successes. Let's see, this week's announcement, I think small Amazon, so not big Amazon. So you know that Amazon, the North American headquarters, is looking at Boston and 19 other locations to move their second North American headquarters. Amazon is making an announcement that they're moving 2,000 office jobs to the Seaport District in Boston. That was our big announcement of the week. Last week was Aetna, moving jobs from Connecticut here. A couple of weeks before was Mass Mutual, making a commitment to both Springfield and Boston. So people ask me all the time, what's your biggest success? And they expect me to say GE. I was part of the team with the governor that helped bring GE here to Massachusetts, but that's not our biggest success. When I first started as secretary, I asked Governor Baker what he wanted to accomplish, what was his top goal, and it has nothing to do with manufacturing. Sorry all, nothing to do with manufacturing. At the time, my title is Secretary of Housing and Economic Development. So I'm going to talk about the housing side first. The time we came into office 3 years ago, there were 1,550 homeless families in hotels and motels around the Commonwealth. So the state of Massachusetts, one of the reasons I'm proud to be part of the state of Massachusetts, state of Massachusetts is the only state in the country that has a legal obligation to house homeless families. It's hard to believe that not every state has that obligation. Massachusetts is the only one. So we had 1,550 families in hotels and motels, and Governor Baker said to me, we're going to change that. That hotels and motels are not created to house families. Our families, those 1,550 families also had 3,000 children. Think about a hotel room without a kitchen, without a place to study, without a place to play, separated from your kids, separated from the ball teams in your schools. Average stay 7 months. So the governor said, we're going to do something about that. And so we're 3.5 years later. We had 1,550 families. GE, that's nice. Amazon, that's nice. Mass Mutual, that's nice. We have 41 families in hotels and motels today. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel the same way. We've gone from 49 hotels to 1. And we're working with each of those 41 families who are the most difficult cases to place. Otherwise, we would have placed them. But there are things that are important, and then there are things that are really important. And the way that we treat our residents is really important. So I'm proud of that. Now, having said that and talked about my housing side, and we've got a $1.8 billion affordable housing bill that's poised for adoption by the legislature shortly. Let me talk about economic development and specifically about manufacturing. I'm really impressed with what I see. I get to go around. Thank you all for sharing stories in your shops, and I learned so much from all of you, and some of it actually makes its way into legislation. So I was at J&E Precision Manufacturing in Southampton. I always get Southampton and East Hampton mixed up. Southampton. And was talking to the proprietor, was fascinated by the stuff that was being made. You know, it's a big picture of a really ominous-looking helicopter that is serving our military men and women. You got that one yet? Wait a minute. Okay. Serving our men and women. And J&E makes specialized parts, really difficult to precision manufacture. And so I said to the proprietor, I said, tell me what your biggest problem is. I'll give you all the same question. Your biggest problem. And he said, I can't find talent, right? I see a lot of heads nodding. I tell people that aren't in this room, when I talk to all of you, that half of you would answer that your biggest problem is talent. It's ironic, I'm going to go aside from it, it's ironic because that's what we sell here in Massachusetts. So when GE decided to come here, it was about talent. When other companies are moving from out of state, we don't offer them the most in incentives, we offer them the most talent here. So it's ironic that in a state that has so much talent, we have so many companies that are saying we have problems finding talent. Here's the good news from my perspective, but the bad news from my perspective. We have more people working here in Massachusetts than ever before. That's great news to me. It's not great news to all you companies, right? Because you can't find people, right? And so that's where we step in. So I was talking with a proprietor at J&E, and he said, you know, I don't even need them fully trained. I'm willing to bring in apprentices. I'm willing to spend my money, my time, and take a chance on somebody if you could just get me apprentices. And so I heard that. I went back, talked to the governor about my observations. The economic development bill that we filed about 6 weeks ago has a provision in it now that creates a tax credit for apprenticeship programs. So there's a $4,800 tax credit each year for 2 years, so it's $9,600 overall, in 3 priority areas of the economy for us. Those 3 priorities are healthcare, IT, and, hey, you all read it, manufacturing. Now, we didn't stumble upon those 3 areas. Governor Baker and I, we subscribe. I'm a guy that manages on slogans. I love my slogans, and one of my slogans is you plan the work, and then you work the plan. And so before you work the plan, you got to plan the work. So before we announced the apprenticeship program, the governor talked to me, I talked to him, we met with a couple of other secretaries, we did a study. We have actually engaged regional employers, regional employment agencies, regional education institutions, stakeholders who are involved in the region. We've engaged 7 different regions to talk to them about where their job needs are today and where their job growth is tomorrow. And the three areas that came up universally are healthcare, IT, and manufacturing. So the governor, hearing that, validating what we were hearing from the shop floor, created this, has proposed this incentive program. And frankly, the idea is if it works, that's great. And if it doesn't, people have been given an opportunity to learn a little bit more. You've added value to them, and they can go off and work at the next place. So we're really excited about that possibility. That's part of an economic development bill that's before the legislature now. We have a high expectation that it's going to be adopted by the legislature. How can I say that? I am in a Republican administration. Some of you that I know, you already know this about me, but I'm a Democrat in a Republican administration. I've been involved in politics all my life. I never in my wildest imagination thought that I would be in a Republican administration. I'm in a Republican administration. I'm with a governor who doesn't see a Republican way of doing things or a Democratic way of doing things. He only sees the right way of doing things, and it's made my job so much easier. But the bipartisan spirit exists beyond the Baker administration. The democratically controlled legislature has already given this governor one economic development bill that was $1 billion. So my 3 stops before this today, and I want to caution you all, I've left all the money at those 3 stops. My 3 stops today were East Hampton. I checked out an $8 million investment we made in the redevelopment of mill buildings in East Hampton that are bringing commercial and residential investment there. From there, I went to Northampton, where I got to check in on a opening of an affordable housing project that is being built with state money and is being supported by state dollars to improve the roadway. And then I stopped in Holyoke, where we talked about more state money for infrastructure to support business development. So when people see me coming to their community, they do see that dollar sign walking in. And so the governor said to me one day, he said, "Jay, everywhere I go, I hear good things about you." I said to him, "Governor, if you give me another $100 million in grant money to give out, you'll hear even better things about me." The fact of the matter is that we have that money because a democratically controlled legislature. For those of you who watch Washington, right, observe what happens in the nation's capital. This is going to sound like it can't be possibly happening anywhere else, but the democratically controlled legislature gave the Republican governor $1 billion so that his emissary can go out to communities and take credit for everything that's going on in their communities. That's the spirit of bipartisanship. And so we continue to have that extension of support from the legislature, and as a result, we're able to come up with new bills that we want to adopt and try to hit more and more of your needs and the needs of communities and the needs of people. So we have an economic development bill we filed, $610 million economic development bill. The tax credit is in there, the apprenticeship tax credit. The other big piece that you all would be interested in is that the governor renewed his commitment to expand training, capital dollars to support community colleges and vocational schools and their needs to update their equipment so they can train the next generation of floor worker for you. And so we're doing $15 million a year in training. The last 2 years, we've done $30 million. More than 120 institutions have benefited from this. I've had the opportunity to go and see these machines put into action and talk to the kids. And you know what? They're excited about manufacturing. So this bill has that. The bill has a lot of other things that will help support the economy, including more of that infrastructure money and some money for housing, some money for downtowns and the like. So excited about that. We have the housing bill that's about to be adopted by the legislature, $1.5 billion to support affordable housing. We have a life sciences bill that's meant not only to support research and development, but to support manufacturing. Right here in Worcester, we're working with the city of Worcester and with the Worcester Business Development Corporation on a biomanufacturing park out at UMass. So that bill, the economic development bill, the housing bill, the life sciences bill, is all about us making an investment in our economy. And we think that that investment is going to pay off because the governor, the lieutenant governor, and I get to go to your shops, get to see what you're doing, get to see the innovation that you're producing, and know that you can do even more. And so we're lucky to have so many of you doing so well, so many of you doing what you're doing, and we look at it as our responsibility to support all you're doing and to help you grow your businesses. Our basic tenets for a strong economy are revitalize communities, help businesses grow, help people prosper, and you're doing all of that. So I thank you for all of your work. Frankly, I hope you're very successful because you make me look good. When you have successes, I get to show up and cut the ribbons. Know that we hear you. We have held the line on taxes, balanced the last 4 budgets without raising taxes. We have amended and eliminated regulations and continue to look at doing each one of them. Every regulation that remains has to have a business justification now. And we listen to people like J&E Precision Manufacturing and create programs that can help you all. So I want to congratulate all of you who are award winners, and thank you for your efforts. I want to especially thank my good friend Peter Stanton. Worcester Business Journal is doing amazing work, not only in serving this region, but in helping to advance good public policy. There is no bigger champion in this room than this guy right here, who was kind enough to introduce me as Lodging in Charge. Peter Stanton continues to think about all of you, continue to think about our young people who can have jobs that pay more than the average jobs by being in your manufacturing, businesses that continue to grow and have great opportunities to bring on more contracts and do more wonderful things. Peter Stanton is there, not only reporting it, but doing something about it. So Peter, on behalf of all of us, thank you very much. Thank you all for having me. Questions? Peter said I didn't say enough nice things about him. So what else did you want me to say? Nice? No, Peter wanted me to take any questions. Are there any questions? Remember, I've been up since 4:30, so I'm going to be dopey. So, any questions? Peter, you have a question? I said it all. What else is there to say, Peter? I've said it all. Thank you all.
4:30 in the morning. Yikes. Thank you, Jay. That was terrific. Let's give him one more hand. I know he's got to head over to WPI. Fantastic. So, as you can see in your program, there is a lengthy description of the background of each of the people who are part of our panel conversation. And so, instead of giving you the long form intro, I'll give you sort of just their name and serial number. We'll bring them up and we'll get started with that part of the conversation so that we can keep the program moving. With that in mind, our moderator is Jeff Turgeon, the Executive Director of the Central Mass Workforce Investment Board. Our panelists include, here she comes, runway walk, Jeannie. Jeannie Hebert, President and CEO of the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce. Ken Messina, Rapid Response Director for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Ira Moskowitz, Director of Advanced Manufacturing Programs at the Mass Tech Collaborative, and Ira was our keynote last year and told us a lot about these exciting programs, and look forward to hearing an update. And Leslie Parody, who's the Workforce Development Manager at the Mass MEP. So there we go, an expert panel. They're both just gonna moderate the discussion, and then we're gonna break into a Q&A. So, all right, a group shot, and then, so here we go. So as soon as Ron has done his photography, in the next few minutes, I'll hand it over to Jeff. You're on.
There we go. Does my microphone work? Oh, you can all hear it. That's excellent. All right, so my name is Jeff Turgeon. As Peter said, I want to thank you for inviting me to come moderate this. My role at the local Workforce Investment Board, we set the policies and the priorities for the region as it relates to the public workforce system and the allocation of resources. And so, as the Secretary had mentioned, we'd been embarking on this long-term planning as a region. And I'm happy to say that manufacturing did become one of our, or maintain as one of our priority industries. So, we're going to continue putting our whatever public resources we can into supporting you as manufacturers. We understand the value. Before we get started, does anyone here manufacture artificial hips? Anyone? I just got an artificial hip, and I think there's some Massachusetts connections there. So if you see me sitting awkwardly, you know it's because I'm recovering from that, or if I fall off this stage right now. And so the other thing, I grew up in Worcester. Anyone else grow up in Worcester? Don't be shy. So I grew up in Worcester. There was this family, had two sons and 2 boys, and one of them, real nice guy, great guy. Everyone liked him. That got to know him. His older brother, though, was kind of mean, kind of a bully. back in the day, we used to probably politically incorrect, we'd call him psycho, and so no one wanted to hang out with the nice kid because they were afraid if they went over to the house or whatever, they'd get beaten up by the mean brother, right? And so this kid was kind of lonely. And where I'm going with this is just not a knock on Worcester. And where I'm going with this is that sometimes I think like people in private sector see government, we wear two hats, right? We've got certain parts of government that are programs and services, and then the other side is like the compliance, the regulations. And I think sometimes people were afraid a little bit of getting involved with government because they feel like, which brother am I dealing with here, right? So these are they're going to talk about programs and services that belong on the nice side of things. It's programs and services and resources that you guys can tap into as manufacturers. So we're going to have a facilitated discussion and then open it up to you all for questions about specific programs or resources that you might have questions about. So, having said all that, we're going to start, Ira, we'll start, and we will get into workforce stuff, but I thought it might be good to start with like facilities and equipments, and I know that you had been involved with knowing about grants that are out there that manufacturers could take advantage of. Can you speak to us about that?
Sure, and I'm going to rattle off a lot of programs, a lot of grants, but I think the main thing to remember are the agencies that sponsor these grants, so you can go back to their websites and look them up, and the programs I'll rattle off are more to give you a sense of where to look. But in terms of capital grants for manufacturers, there are a number of agencies in the state that have substantial capital grants. So I'll start with my own agency, the MassTech Collaborative. And we have one of the largest grant programs. It's been mentioned multiple times by John, by Secretary Ash, and that's the Massachusetts Manufacturing Innovation Initiative, or M2I2. So this is a program that's within the Manufacturing USA infrastructure that we just heard. And if you're not familiar with Manufacturing USA, this is a federal program. It is a national network of collaborative institutes, each with hundreds of members across the country, and each with the mission of securing the future of manufacturing within their technology. So there are 14 of these that have been set up right now, and Governor Baker and Secretary Ash and the legislature have made a nation-leading commitment to invest in projects in these 4 categories of manufacturing technology. And as Secretary Ash mentioned, it's a $100 million investment that's been committed to these, and we've invested about $38 million in these projects so far. So we've heard some of these institutes. There are 4 that we oversee at MassTech. Functional fabrics or textiles, it's called AFFOA, that's the institute. But if you do fabrics or textiles or anything that kind of looks or shakes like a fabric or textile, even composite papers, or if you're in electronics or photonics or biometric sensing, or any of those types of technologies, you may be able to participate in substantial grants within this institute. So that's the Functional Fabrics Institute. The second is AIM Photonics, or Integrated Photonics. So if you're in the photonics business, whether you make or use perhaps photonic devices or lasers, there's multi-million dollars of grants available for those kind of projects. Flexible Electronics is the third institute. It's called NextFlex. And then the fourth is Industrial Robotics under the ARM Institute. So go on to the MassTech website. By the way, I have brochures out for most of the programs I'm talking about out on the tables. They're somewhere out there. So you can pick those up as well. But on the MassTech website under M2I2, you can see this program. In addition, if you are involved in any kind of support of the maritime industry, now I realize the ocean is not exactly down the street here, but maybe your company is making some kind of equipment or support for the Massachusetts maritime industry, the Seaport Economic Council has substantial grants for projects in support of the Massachusetts maritime industry. So perhaps it's sensors or automation or some other aspect. Again,
So these are outright grants people can...
these are all outright grants, and they're substantial, millions of dollars of grants. So that's for the maritime industry. You can get that on the MassTech website as well. If you're in life sciences, Mass Life Sciences, the state agency that oversees life sciences grants. So these are outright grants, substantial grants. There's a program called the Competitive Capital Grants Program. I think this year's competition may be over, but perhaps you can involve the next year. It's for nonprofit applicants, but you could be as an industry partner to a nonprofit. There's a program that's called the Massachusetts Next Generation Initiative. That's for women-owned early-stage life science companies, substantial grants to support those programs. There's a program called Mass Ramp at Mass Life Sciences. So if you're a company that has an SBIR grant, a Small Business Innovation Research Grant, or Small Business Technology Transfer Grant for the federal government, but it hasn't covered your entire project, you can get a grant from Mass Life Sciences to complete that. And then finally, substantial grants under another Manufacturing USA Institute under Mass Life Sciences, the Nimble Institute, and I think John, perhaps Secretary Ashton mentioned that as well, NIIMBL is the institute. So Mass Life Sciences has substantial grants. And then finally, I want to mention Mass Development, which is another state agency, has a very new program called the New Innovation Vouchers Program, which is a program that can support companies doing prototyping development work for new products at a University of Massachusetts location. So there's this myriad of these kind of grants. Again, the M2I2 program has been giving out grants as high as $10 million. So this is substantial grants. We've had small companies as 10, 15-person companies that have gotten seven-figure
So
grants.
certainly folks should talk to you afterwards, and you've got the brochures out there. And
That's right. For capital grants, substantial programs.
now, Jeannie, I know at the Chamber you do a lot in the Valley to support businesses as they look at facilities or equipment. What's some things that the Chamber does for manufacturers?
Well, of course, we connect them with agencies that offer grants. You know, we try to be a good connector and a convener. But we listen to what their problems are, and we try to find solutions. And of course, you and I have been talking about some of the things that we're doing. And it's very exciting. We ourselves just received a $456,000 grant to start a Blackstone Valley Education Hub. And what that means is we're going to try to address the problem that Secretary Ash was addressing, which is the gap in skilled workers.
Yep.
In our area alone, we have every year 650 plus students who are on a wait list to get into vocational technical training. And there's about 3,500 students statewide that are unable to obtain vocational training. They want to go in the workforce. They're stuck in college prep courses. And when they get out, they have no skills whatsoever.
And many of these are kids with great, they want to work hands-on. They want to,
Yeah, they want to
roll
work.
up their sleeves and, yeah.
And then to compound things, the students that are in the vocational technical high schools, 50% of those do not go into the vocation for which they have gotten training for 4 years. They go into the WPIs, the MITs, which is great. They do wonderful things, but they're not going into the workforce. So the mindset that vocational trained students are going into the workforce, that's not happening.
It's kind of a certain irony, right? That the
Yeah.
schools have come so far. I know here in Worcester, Worcester Vocational Technical High School has been, received national awards. But
Right.
one of the things we hear is, are they in fact training more the engineer level than the technician level?
Yeah, that's what's happening. So we have some terrific partners. We have Quinsigamond Community College, Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology, Worcester State University, Boston Architectural College called us. They want to be a partner, so they're going to be giving them a partnership. We're talking to Nichols College. And what we're doing is working on dual enrollment within the high schools to work with students that have been vetted and have a vocation and what they're interested in. And we're purchasing all of this machinery. We're building a fab lab. We have 30 CAD-ready computers that Quinsigamond Community College.
So you're going to be preparing a whole wave, hopefully, of young people. So if there's businesses down in the Valley, they should definitely connect with you to.
Well, not just in the
help.
Valley. We're working with businesses throughout Massachusetts because this is a statewide, actually more than a statewide problem, but we want to address the statewide problem. We are partnering with manufacturers that, so that we can build custom curriculums. If you'd like to join our advisory team, please do. We just spoke with some companies that there's a gap in Swiss turn type of training, so we're looking into purchasing some Swiss turn type of
So again, that's a need that one of
Yeah.
your employers or maybe
brought
several
in
brought to
to-
you, and
brought in.
you can
Yeah.
develop
We're
in
doing
partnership
that.
with others some support.
And we started an apprenticeship program about 3 years ago. We did it just with Sutton High School. And we started with 18 students. This year we had 89 that we've placed. I just got an email from Tommy Renard at Renard Plumbing that the student that he's had is so great, he's going to employ him through the summer, and he can have a job there. So these are the things that we're looking at. But what is more exciting is as we delved into what we were going to purchase with this $456,000, The software we're finding is amazing, and as technology changes, we can reach out more. We thought we were going to have 30 students, but what we're doing is now we're starting off-site campuses, the Blackstone Valley Education Hub, Northbridge High School campus, Uxbridge High School campus. Once we get going, there'll be campuses at most of the high schools. And the software, these students, no matter where they are, they can gain access to all of these programs, classes, machines, and they might be at Sutton High School, but they're accessing the manufacturing campus.
So I'm gonna imagine
Uxbridge.
that one thing you're gonna need is company representatives to
Yes.
come and help
Yes.
those young people learn the software, but then also learn about manufacturing.
Yeah.
And I guess for manufacturers in the room, the plus side there would be you help out with that, and then you've got access to a pipeline of
Exactly. Of
young
workers.
workers that
Yeah.
hopefully will.
Yeah.
would know you and your
MassMVP
company.
is one of our partners, and we've been working with Leslie and Ted Bauer and John here to do credentialed types of programs, and we're delving more into that. We have an advisory meeting Monday night, and we're going to be talking about and brainstorming about what we can do. So this is really exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting, and we're thinking out of the box, and that's what we have to do to address this. And as one principal put it, well, the Uxbridge High School principal put it to me, we've got our students that'll be working on a project with Northbridge High School students working together, and if any of you know football, they are a huge rival. So these students will be working together.
You've got even them working together.
They'll be working together, and then they're going to go back to school, change into the uniform, and beat the heck out of each other. So this is exactly what we want to do. We want to have collaboration between all of the schools, so there's no borders, there's no mine. We'll all be working together, and we'll be training these students in order to reach a skilled workforce,
Yeah.
a pool that everyone can delve
And I
into.
should mention too, I know that we've been working with the Worcester Public Schools. They're starting, again, Worcester Technical High School has a long wait list. There's only so many that can be served during that shop during the day.
Right.
They're actually going to be opening up a manufacturing after-school program that would run. I think the way it's going to work is, a young person would start school a little bit later at, say, Doherty or Burncoat, and then go to Worcester Tech after school for a few hours. And do that for most of their junior year, and then they're hoping to get them like an internship site. So again, the idea being that manufacturers and business plays a role in helping shape that next generation, right?
And the other thing we're doing, I met with Quinsig yesterday, representatives from Quinsig, and we're going to be in their fall catalog, and we'll be also working with older students, or maybe the manufacturer's technology has changed and they need to retrain. They can utilize this facility, our machinery, and some of the manufacturers are donating machinery because they're expanding. Lenza Corporation is talking with us about that. And so we'll be training nights and weekends with older students, and also retraining employees people that are already employed, and veterans in transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, Leslie, you do a lot at the MEP with training people for the industry. Talk to us a little bit about how businesses can partner with the MEP around upskilling their current staff or helping staff move from, the entry level up the ranks.
So at the MEP, we have internal programs that we run for training, but we also, as Jeannie mentioned, we credential participants in other programs so that you're able to compare apples to apples. One thing the state has been very good about doing is putting in quite an array of training for manufacturing. You have all of your vocational high schools across the state that have students coming out of it. Most of them have some type of evening program or have partnered with their WIB or their career centers to put together some kind of training. That's usually funded through either Secretary Ash's office or Secretary Acosta under Labor. You have community colleges where a great many of them have manufacturing programs that you can work with. We in Worcester have access to WPI. We at the MEP have utilized them to partner with and provide some of our more advanced skills training. We also do that with UMass Lowell and Lowell. There are other opportunities to do that with four-year organizations across the state. There's also a limited number of private trainers, which is what I would consider Mass MVP to be. While we have 37 people on the street, we're able to take what we hear from you on a daily basis and bring that back and very quickly utilize it while we're changing curriculum and making training decisions as we go along. For an incumbent workforce, if those of you out beforehand talked with Joe Griffin from my office here, Joe has led you to believe that I have a corral of people in my backyard, that if you just call me up, I will have trained people for you. And this is not the first time I've heard that, so I do get calls periodically where I hear you have people. We do have a training program that we run fairly consistently. It is 260 hours. We run it through WPI and through UMass Lowell. A class does graduate tomorrow. So I don't have them in my backyard, but there are programs out there that are preparing people for entry-level jobs in manufacturing. As far as the people that work for you already to reskill them, there aren't a lot of people available. Unemployment for the first time was down to 204,000 for new applications this week, which is what, 1969? It was the lowest it's been since 1969. If you have people that are doing a good job, the very first thing you have to do is make sure they're happy. You need to provide them with the stimulus they need, with additional training to make you better, because replacing them is going to be very, very difficult. There are a bunch of ways to do it. We tend to call it strategic workforce development at the MEP. You need to have a plan. You need to know where you're going, what your forecast is going to be. I understand it's very hard for a small manufacturer to deal with those metrics, and you kind of fly by the seat of your pants because the guy that owns the company might be running a machine or he's out selling. We tend to hire someone that we like so they fit into our culture. Best thing I can say to you is avail yourself of this training that is out there. It hurts to take someone off a machine, but ultimately they get ramped up faster to provide good parts for you. The state has resources available for that. If you're not familiar with the Workforce Training Fund, that's probably your best bet for incumbent worker training. There are a couple of different variations with that. You can find it on the mass.gov website, or anybody from MEP would be very happy to talk to you about that. But it will pay for an array of different types of training that you need to upskill your workforce so that you are able to stay competitive and they're able to stay employed in Massachusetts.
Leslie, in terms of, I know that one of the things that's often been a barrier for especially smaller companies is just, well, to manage that workforce training fund grant can be a bit of paperwork, and it gets kind of into that. And
It does.
there's also consortium grants that I know that the MEP and others have kind of put together. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep.
And how they could maybe get involved?
So a consortium grant functions the exact same way a regular workforce training fund grant does, with the exception of the fact that instead of one company taking part in the training, it's multiple companies taking part in the training. And there's usually an entity. In some of our cases, it's been the WIB. We've had Jeff's group manage it. But it stops you from having to take 12 people out of your shop floor and put them into a training class for a day. It allows you to all come together. You function now as a company of 500 people when there's a bunch of different people. So we'll take 1 from your company and 2 from your company and 3 from your company, put them in a class. Much less impact on production, and much less impact on gathering the information for the reporting.
Now, Ken, bringing you into the conversation, coordinate the state's rapid response program, and also a collective effort with other state agencies called Mass BizWorks. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
And how it works?
So we've been talking, we've been basically just tipping the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, I want to say, or whatever it is, for some of the different programs that are out there. But actually, the state of Massachusetts is a great place to do business, and Jay Ash is 100% correct with that. There's a lot of programs out there the state has to offer. The problem with that is that it can get confusing. And the other problem that we have is that most businesses don't know they exist, right? I mean, when we start talking about some of the programs that MassBiz has together, and it includes a lot of the programs that we're talking here, you're going to be amazed at all the different things that your company can avail themselves of throughout your business cycle. So what the BizWorks program is, and everyone has one of these guides on their table, and we don't want to cause any fights after we start talking about that. But the bottom line is that you're going to say, why didn't I know about that before? Because the bottom line is that, you know, we've got workforce training fund grants that you mentioned for $250,000. Has anyone ever heard that there's a safety grant out there? Let me just see a rate. Look at that. Okay. So we have a safety grant program out there that a lot of you didn't know about out there at all either. You know, we have programs out there that can help a business, because every business has peaks and valleys, let's face it, right? You know, you have your very busy time and you have your slow time, but there's a work-share program that can actually save businesses for going out of business. Do you believe it? It's true. I mean, we have programs that can help companies throughout the whole business cycle, and the problem is that most of you don't know about it. So the BizWorks program, what we did is we pulled all the different agencies together, regardless of it being under economic development, workforce development, or education. And what we did was collaboratively partner up with everyone. We actually asked everyone to come together and say, check your territorialisms at the door, folks, because we're trying to help businesses out there. We put them all together and decided that we needed to train all of our staffs to go out there, regardless of whether they're from the Workforce Investment Board, whether they're from economic development, workforce development, you name it. What we do in Mass BizWorks is we put actually 3 committees together. Number one, we wanted to pull everything together that can help your business throughout your business cycle. Put it all in one spot. Also, why don't we also include all the names of all the different agencies there, so if you need to call someone, they're right there. The one-stop career centers are there. Oh, did I just cover the mic? Sorry. The one-stop career centers are there. The community colleges are there. The workforce investment boards are there. It's all in one guide, folks, okay? And I can tell you right now, it's gone national because we have, what, Jeff, 7 different states that have copied this guide now?
Yep.
And start
Again,
to do
Massachusetts just trying to do its best to pull it all together, and other states seeing that, saying, well, we should do that too. I mean, it makes sense that you've got a lot of agencies out there serving business. They all kind of operate to some extent in silos, and so Ken's group is really trying to pull them all together to make sure that they at least understand what each other does, and when they're talking to a business, they can speak to some of the other programs that a business might qualify for. Before we had talked about, we were talking about, you know, that pipeline development. And, you know, it seems to me, and you know, I worked for a time when I was coming, I took some time off college, worked a bit at a plastics manufacturing company right down the street, as a matter of fact. I was probably the worst van delivery driver they had there, in all honesty. It's another story. But you know, I got a chance to kind of see manufacturing up close. My dad worked in manufacturing and knew the plant manager, so, you know, lo and behold, I got a job there. But, you know, I think it seems like today, everyone has to operate so lean, it's very difficult to have young people just kind of around the shop, right? Like, to bring someone on that's not going to be productive immediately is something that seems like it's beyond. But I think the pitch should be that please think of it as maybe an investment in your own pipeline, right? That young person through you know, an internship program, maybe with Jeannie, connect with you know, Jeannie and some of the schools there, Worcester Public Schools, and get them there. If you can pay them a few dollars, you know, that's maybe where some of the folks like the boards, we can help maybe steer from, hey, maybe instead of an hourly wage, you're paying a young person a stipend as an intern. It'd be a great incentive for them to get on board and get into your shop. And, you know, all things being equal, a young person that maybe isn't planning to go to college, isn't planning to, you know, move away, you know, if they get to know and develop some roots with your company, people tend to stay where they're comfortable. And so, hey, maybe that young person would be groomed for that next, you know, entry-level job that you have or could take on as you grow. And Ira, I know that you're aware of a college intern program with some resources behind it that companies can tap into. Can you tell us a little bit about the...
Yeah, sure. And the state has a few of these internship programs. So my own agency, Mass Tech Collaborative, has a summer internship program for college students and graduate students that substantially subsidizes the cost of having an intern. This is both for 2-year folks as well as for 4-year folks. And then for graduate students, it's for any college student that is going to school here in Massachusetts or any Mass resident college student who may be going to school elsewhere. But I certainly agree with the point. Certainly in my former life as a manufacturer, We looked at interns as our pipeline. That's what their purpose was. In a semiconductor manufacturing environment, they are going to contribute no value over a period of few months. It's purely for the pipeline. In addition, if you're in the life sciences business or anything related to it, Mass Life Sciences also has a very relatively lucrative subsidizing program for interns, both for college as well as for high school. So they have an internship program for high school students where there's substantial subsidies so that not only can you attract and afford to do that, but in fact you can pay them a reasonable wage for the summer, which will help to attract them to such an environment. So we certainly have those types of programs in the state, and there are others.
Yeah, and I should mention our board operates the summer jobs program here in Worcester and some of the surrounding communities, and so if any of you would like to take on a summer jobs participant, young person, we could have that conversation. As a matter of fact, we have a program now where if you paid half their wage, the grant that we have would pay the other half, and it's a program called YouthWorks that's state funded. So again, we're trying to do our best to leverage those resources that are public out there to bring value to you all. So now, Jeannie, you had mentioned too, one of the things that I think comes across is with such a low unemployment rate, we have to do our best to really expand the labor pool. And you're working with, could you tell us a little bit more about the work you do with veterans that might be getting out of service and connecting them?
Yeah, we've been working a 3-year connection actually with Veteran Services to get a pipeline of veterans that may be interested in getting into the industry, maybe get some training, something that they didn't get before they went into the service or something that they dabbled in, and they'll be able to be eligible for training through some of the higher learning institutions that we're working with. They'll be vetted, of course. We're going to have an information session in June. We were talk about financial aid and how we can help the manufacturers to work with us to fill the openings that they have.
Great.
So yeah, so it's really a good pipeline to work with veterans.
And Ken, I know the career centers work with veterans and then other job seekers to help. Can you tell folks about the career centers and what they are?
Absolutely. The career centers are a great place to be. There's 29 career centers located throughout the state of Massachusetts. Veterans have priorities in all of the services that we offer. Whether we're conducting job fairs, we'll probably have like an hour prior to everyone coming, every other job seeker coming in looking for a job, and the hour would be set up immediately just for veterans coming in. There's a lot of different things that we do for veterans up front that offer priority services, but the one-stop career centers are a great place to offer any of the services for the businesses that are out there, but also its employees. And it's a great place for all of you to find skilled workers, because there's a myriad of different programs. I know when Jeff runs the career center out in the Worcester area, and I can tell you that, you know, if you're looking for a skilled workforce, they have a lot of programs that they can put together that'll fill a gap. That if your company's looking for someone, they can actually train them on that piece that they might be missing, so that it'll help them. Along with that is on-the-job training programs, right, Jeff? I mean, that's a hidden gem. I mean, if you want to hire someone and actually, in some cases, get up to 75% of their salary paid for six-month period, you know, I mean, that's a great place to go while they're learning on the job at your location. So there's a lot that we can do out there. There's a lot of programs that we have when we're working with dislocated workers. As you know, if folks are affected by a company that's trade certified, a company that's been affected by foreign competition, we can send them to school for up to 2 years at a community college or any
And
place.
you know, there's been some great stories I've heard where I think it was Polaroid had closed down, and there were a whole, you know, mess of folks that were affected by that. And the state was able to go in before they even got laid off. You know, they do their warn notice. They tell the government that they're going to be having this mass layoff. So Ken's unit and staff were able to get in there, talk to folks, see what skills they had, and then search for companies that were looking for folks with those skills and actually help them connect. So these people basically left Polaroid on a Friday and started work on a Monday at a new company, often at, you know, near or above the salaries that they had. One of those companies, in fact, was AbbVie. Here in Worcester, we were just over there talking to them about their workforce stuff, and they were talking about that.
And to add on to the Polaroid story, which is a great story, I mean, we had 38 folks who were affected in a certain division there, and we went in and actually trained them in biotech up front. And Worcester Polytech was actually partnered with us in order to do that, so it's a great story from around here. And we placed 34 of the 38 folks before they ever lost their jobs.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So you can imagine the stress that comes along with getting that layoff notice, and then before that even takes effect, you have a job lined up. And again, some of them went to work for AbbVie, and they're making more than they did at Polaroid with a growing, field, the biotech field. So we touched upon workforce and the resources there. Ira also told us about some of the around facilities and equipment. What's some other challenges folks might have? Questions of the panelists about where they might turn to for resources or some thoughts. Don't be shy, folks. How many? Oh, yeah, Peter.
So, Jerry mentioned the apprenticeship program, and it sounds like if that does go through, how would someone implement that, and how does that line up next to internships and other kinds of funding?
And Leslie, do you want to talk about the?
Yeah. So I get a lot of calls about apprenticeships. It's the buzzword of today. My very first question to someone is, what does an apprenticeship mean to you? Because what we're talking about when someone from the state or the federal government talks about it is often very different than what someone from a manufacturing firm thinks it is. So a registered apprenticeship, which is what would qualify for the tax credit or is available for some of the other funding that's going on out there, is a program designed by the company. And each year you provide 144 hours of related classroom instruction and 2,000 hours of structured on-the-job training.
When you say the on-the-job training, that's them doing their work. It's just you're basically documenting what they've done at their work, what skills they've acquired.
It's
on the
doing
job.
their work, but it's having a mentor and someone is actually teaching them for the 2,000 hours. So that's actually the secret sauce of whether you call it an apprenticeship or not, is having a structured on-the-job training. The classroom piece tends to be a bit onerous for a small company. 144 hours is essentially 3 community classes a year for them to go to. It's an awful lot of time for them to be away. It's also very difficult to find a full packaged program somewhere where you can just kind of plug somebody in. But Ken made the very important point of on-the-job training. Because that, like I said, is the secret sauce to an apprenticeship. Maybe you don't register your apprenticeship. Maybe you only have 40 hours of training for the people that you're trying to advance. You still have a structure. You're still teaching them stuff that they need to know. Then when they come back to your shop, have a plan. Have an OJT program that is not just, I'm going to follow Ira around today and that's OJT. That's not OJT. Structured OJT, where it is monitored and somebody actually teaches you, accelerates how fast someone learns something. It does actually pay for itself, but you do have to do the upfront work for it. And finding the time to do the training is everybody's struggle. The resources aren't just dollars resources.
Now, Leslie, when I hear that, that sounds kind of tough to develop these plans. Is there a group like yours? I mean, are there groups that can help with that?
There's plans available. The federal government has plans available for OJT. It doesn't have to be tough. It's not tell me what somebody's going to be doing every day of the week for the next year. Tell me what they have to know for their major competencies. Which is the most important? Start with the most important. You don't have to teach them everything all at once. A lot of times I'll go in and I have a client that has 75 things they want to teach a new hire. You can't do them all on day one, and they try to do them all on day one. Take it down to, what am I going to do on the first day with this person? What are we going to do the first week? What are we going to do the first 6 weeks? By 6 weeks, they should be on their own to an extent, and you can fill in the gaps and start teaching them new stuff, and they're more productive. It's not as onerous as it sounds, but it's also not a magic bullet where somebody's going to walk in and you click your heels and suddenly you have a trained person. We have in manufacturing a variety of different machines, different processes. It's not the same as trying to develop a carpenter, and it's unfortunate. So you need to do something that is definitely for your company and tailored for your company, but you can band together We have the MACWIC in Massachusetts. We have that available where you can band together and we can at least do the basics, the foundation skills that are generic to everyone. So that takes that off your plate.
So talk a little bit more about the MACWIC and how folks can get involved if they're not, because I think one of the challenges is as a small company, you might not have a lot of capacity to be, doing all this work on your own, and you don't need to if there's a group that's already kind of done a lot of this, right?
So the MACWIC is the Manufacturing Advancement Center Workforce Innovation Collaborative. They were started in 2012. There was a bit of frustration that I was hearing the exact same conversation 3 times a day with clients about I can't find a skilled workforce. And I was getting very tired of going to places where we were going to study it some more and find out what the employers needed. So we put what we call the Founding 40 into a room up at Worcester Technical High School, and they got together and said we're going to come up with solutions and not just talk about it anymore. We've now grown to about 230 members. We are in 32 of the 34 machine tool technology programs at the vocational high school level. We do a number of community colleges and evening programs. And what we do is we actually provide validation testing for their manufacturing programs. The MACWIC, no cost to join. If you go to macwic.org, there's a membership form on there. You can join it. You'll get on the email list. We have training that's available in bite-sized pieces for you. It's probably the easiest way you can do it. Right now we're doing it in our Worcester office. MEP is available to do things if you have the need for a full class on site to do it on site. It gives you a way where there's a complete structure already in place if you choose to do an apprentice program, and I'll give you the OJT plan. That's not a problem. I can do an OJT plan for just about any, they're called ONET codes. Any code out there, if you can give me that, I can give it to you. It's in Excel. You take what works for you. You can take the whole thing, take what works for you, whatever works for the company.
Great. So any questions come up? Anything percolating out there? Any questions? Any challenges that you want us to touch upon as a panel? How many folks here would classify kind of a small business? Okay, so it's a good number. And so, Jeannie, I know that you've worked a lot to help pull folks together.
Yeah.
So tell us about how
we have
you
mostly small businesses in the Blackstone Valley. And I don't know if everybody realizes that the definition statewide is 500 or fewer. Is it 500 or fewer employees is small?
Oh, wow.
Wow. Because at Hebert Candies, we had 200-something employees, and we were still considered small business. So to me,
I would consider that a pretty big business.
That's a big business. But they have the same problems, but they're on different levels. I think you touched upon it with capacity, and Leslie touched upon it when she said they're wearing so many different hats. In a larger business, they have more of, and for lack of a better word, I'll say luxury, that if you're an administrator, you're an administrator. Yeah. And if you're running a department, you're running a department. Where if you're a small business, maybe 20 employees, 30 employees, you could be an administrator, you could be running a machine, as Leslie said.
And I think this is where that the other brother kind of really frustrates a lot of companies, right? Because you don't, the government comes out with a new regulation around human resources or a new, personnel thing or a new healthcare law, and you've got to, you might not have someone dedicated on your staff to learn the minutia of that. But that's where chambers and other organizations, right?
I was on the phone with the business owner who was getting assessed or taxed because one of their employees had been on Mass Health. They hired them. They didn't get off Mass Health. They haven't been able to get off Mass Health, so now they've been assessed a $300 fine, which doesn't seem like much to a lot of people, but to a small business, what do we do? There's a sense of urgency. How do I fix this? What do I do? And, they've sat on the phone with the state for 90 minutes. So they're, you can hear the fear in their voice. Where another large company would have an HR person that could address that sort of thing.
Well, I'll turn it over. Ira, why don't we go around and kind of give some final thoughts or some concluding remarks? And
Sure. So all I can do is encourage you, whether you're a small business or a large business, to be working through this somewhat complex set of state agencies and state support functions, but as we travel around the state processing these grants that we're responsible for, and we look at small businesses, the ones that are sort of really on it and really successful have somehow or other put together a portfolio of taking advantage of these state incentives. I mean, this is our tax dollars, yours and mine, and small companies really should and really must be looking at not only the grant programs, but the whole list of Mass Development's financing programs, some of which are extremely good.
To that end, the Workforce Training Fund, I bet anyone that pays UI is paying into that fund.
Sure. So
Get with folks out there to tap into those funds.
So you really, and I know for a small business it's hard, as you were saying, to take the time, but there are these Mass Development financing programs that are extremely helpful to small businesses. There are also, from the Massachusetts Office of Business Development, there are tax incentive programs that can significantly reduce your state income tax. The EDIP program, for example, the Massachusetts Department of Revenue has some of the best programs going, 3% tax reductions on your depreciable manufacturing assets, 10% reduction in income tax on your R&D investments. You do have to register as a manufacturer. But these programs are out there. The other thing I would just say finally, too, is that having spent most of my life as a manufacturer in Massachusetts, and having attempted myself in the past to apply to some of these programs, for example, I did an EDIP application for a tax reduction once, and I withdrew it because I couldn't meet the conditions required. These programs have changed over time. So if you are a small manufacturer and you don't know about the Mass Development, the Mass Tech, the MOBD, and the Department of Revenue programs, those are the four I would definitely get on their websites if you're in life sciences, Mass Life Sciences. If you've looked at them in the past and you realize I can't handle this, go back and do it again, because they have fixed and changed and improved these programs since the years that I looked at them and I withdrew from them saying I can't deal with this. So I can't recommend enough to go to Mass Development, Mass Tech, MOBD, Department of Revenue, look at the programs, put time
And so I think
into it.
that's where Ken would say too,
Or-
that's the Mass BizWorks
your
motto is,
guide.
hey, let's help streamline some of that
Yeah.
so you can try to pinpoint.
They're all in
Put
there.
them, and put them all together.
Yeah.
They just put together these programs together. It's a huge impact if you could take the time and do that.
Leslie, any other thoughts on your end?
It can be confusing, but there are a lot of people that are around to help you, and anyone from MassMAP or any of these other agencies would love to help you get through this morass of acronyms and different programs so that we can hopefully steer you in the right direction.
It's definitely an alphabet soup out there, and it's very confusing, and I'm willing to help any of you in our area. You don't have to be a chamber member. You can give me a call or shoot me an email. But in our area, we do in every town open for business meetings, and we bring the department heads from Mass Office of Business Development, Mass Development, Mass Growth Capital Corporation. There are also, in addition to grants that are out there, there's long-term low-interest loans that you might be eligible for, especially for technical assistance through Mass Development. Mass Growth Capital Corporation can help you with gap lending. The state has a lot of resources. Unfortunately, they don't spend any marketing dollars, so it's
Very
out
few,
there.
and Ken
Yeah.
is probably the one that's trying. He's
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah, but this is a wonderful resource, so you should take advantage of that, definitely.
With that, Ken, we'll
Find out
turn it
what's
to you
going
to-
on.
So 85% of all companies employ 50 or less employees, okay? So that means that your human resource department probably, you might not have one, okay? So getting all of these things together would be really, really tough for you. So what we've done, and many of the folks that you see here and folks in the audience, John and everyone, are on our Mass BizWorks committees. So we all work together. I have 22 staff for rapid response. We have staff in the one-stop career centers. We've gone out and we've done 5 modules of training to make sure people know about all these programs. We want to come out and see you, okay? We want to come out to chamber events. We want to come out to business associations. We want to do, I'm loving the fact that Jeff asked us to come today, because having this many employers in the room is gravy for us, because we want you to know about these programs. I guarantee that we can, if a company's having difficulty and you don't know about Workshare, we have saved businesses for going out of business and they don't know about it. It's a shame. The safety grant programs, we've got all kinds of examples that we can tell you on how folks have used these programs. We've put them all in one spot. We work together to try and make it less confusing for you. Call us. We want to come out and see you.
Well, with that, these folks will be around, right? So if anyone wants to follow up, and there's plenty of information out on the table. So thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Fantastic job, Jeff. Thank you, and thank the panel again for a terrific conversation. Hey, so, we're running a little bit early. Is that what's called lean? We're on time. We're on budget. Should we keep going, or should we just take 20 minutes off? Keep going. Okay, all right, just checking. I know there are a number of manufacturers in the room. There are also a lot of service providers in the room, and I think the onus is upon all of us to be ambassadors for this conversation we had here today and to help our own businesses or clients or associates learn about this. Are there more of those Mass Biz Works programs? I saw one per table.
We have some. We can get them with Jeff.
Okay. And obviously that it's on the website, right?
It's also online.
Yeah. So let's make sure that everybody follows up and looks at those resources. Terrific conversation. I am now going to introduce Brad Kane, our editor, who has the hair. It's been growing for a long time. He has the hair of Samson, I think. And so I just got a haircut today, but Brad did not get a haircut for this event. Anyways, and Brad is going to, we're going to split up. He's going to do the first 4 presentations of our honorees. John Killam's going to come up and do the 5th, and then I'll do the last 2. And then we'll break for beverages and all celebrate all the winners. And one of them's a brewery, which is an extra reason to celebrate as well. So anyways, Brad Kane.
Thank you, Peter. All right, jumping right into this now. First up is ThinkLite. Founded in 2009, ThinkLite has become a recognized leader in lighting efficiency. The company custom designs, manufactures, distributes, and installs energy-efficient LED products, serving commercial customers and governments. ThinkLite has invented the world's only driverless LED products that deliver 180 lumens per watt, the highest level of LED efficiency available. ThinkLite's unique design allows older existing fixtures to be retrofitted for use with energy-efficient LED lighting, making it a great fit for utility-funded efficiency programs. Through its green efforts, ThinkLite has saved more than 175 million kilowatt hours of electricity in the last 8 years, which is equivalent to more than 267 million pounds of carbon emissions avoided, or more than 3 million trees replanted. Its products are known to be over 80% more energy efficient than traditional lighting and over 40% more energy efficient than other LEDs in today's marketplace. The company's recent accolades include being named as an Inc. 5000 fastest growing company and as a leader in sustainable entrepreneurship in the USA by a government agency. CEO and founder Dinesh Wadhwani was honored by Governor Charlie Baker as a top immigrant entrepreneur in Massachusetts. As a relatively young company founded less than a decade ago that yet provides a superior product which saves clients money without compromising on its high quality, we are pleased to present ThinkLite with the 2018 Manufacturing Excellence Rising Star Award. Accepting is CEO Dinesh Wadhwani.
Thank you very much for the great introduction and great honor to be here to be presented with this award. I just want to say 2 big thank yous. First is, there's never a good company or a good leader without a good team. And the reason for our success and our continuous growth and our ability to serve our community in the way we do in terms of energy savings is only possible because of the awesome team, that, we've been blessed with and that we have here at ThinkLite, of which, most of them are here with us today to celebrate. So I just want to say a big thank you to them firstly. Secondly, thank you. And secondly, a very big thank you more to, I'd say, the state of Massachusetts. It's very easy, or it's very common where you see people, oh, that's a good idea, or they have a good team. But to me, what's bigger or more significant is having a good platform. And the state of Massachusetts and the communities and the towns that we live in, with all these programs to foster entrepreneurship, a great fair market where you could start not too long ago, just like us, with good technology and honest hard work, and be able to make a big impact. And you don't see that all the time, and it is a big deal, in my opinion, personally, to be given such a platform to work in. So I'm truly, truly grateful for that. And most importantly, is as a manufacturer ourselves, and with the world getting a more and more competitive place out there, we do realize the importance of significantly increasing needs for being competitive. And it couldn't make us more happier to be in the business of allowing other businesses, to save money, write off their fixed costs, to save energy, sustainability, but more importantly, continue to be best at what they do and being competitive in whatever services or products they are providing out there. So it's a great opportunity for us to provide this opportunity to other people, but most importantly, to be here with all of you today. So thank you so much. Really, really an honor and pleasure for all of us. And God bless all. Thank you.
All right, our next winner, Curtis Industries of West Boylston. Curtis Industries has been producing small vehicle enclosure cabs since 1968, and recent innovations have allowed Curtis to build an air conditioning unit that is among the most compact and energy efficient in the industry. The company's new facility in West Boylston has streamlined the production process that was previously split among its 4 Worcester buildings. Curtis is creating post-factory cabs for tractors and golf carts, complete with heating and air conditioning. The new factory setup has allowed the company to upgrade its infrastructure and equipment, plus implement a built-in product code system that means a more integrated and efficient manufacturing process and increased throughput. Its recent growth comes in the golf cart industry, primarily in the South and Southwest, where temperatures can really become unbearable during the summer months. At many senior and 55-plus communities, the demand for efficient air-conditioned golf carts as a regular mode of transportation, and not just on the fairways, is quite strong. Curtis's innovative energy-efficient electric-based system to keep the cab, Curtis's innovative energy-efficient electric-based cooling system cycles off the AC when the motor needs more power, allowing the system to keep the cab cool for the user. Company President and CEO George Sahojos sees the opportunity to apply this technology across all its cab products and as a potential game changer for the company. For the development of a cutting-edge AC unit that has the potential to transform its whole product line, please recognize Curtis Industries for its Manufacturing Excellence Award in Product Design and Innovation. Accepting the award is President and CEO George Sahojos.
Well, I'd like to start by thanking Peter for hosting this event and making this possible. And like Dinesh, I'd also like to emphasize that at Curtis, it's really a team effort. And everybody at Curtis can tell you I have had very little personally to do with the air conditioning system other than supporting the development and the investment in the whole process. As I look at the other award winners today, frankly, I could say every one of them should be receiving an innovation award. It's very important. It's what keeps companies vital in the environment, in the business environment we have today. I look at some of the investment that the Commonwealth has made in manufacturing, and my first inclination was to whine a bit here that much of it is focused on the pharma and medical industry. I would echo Jeff's comment earlier on or shouldn't say echo his comment, but like Jeff, I've got some artificial bits in me, and I'm very happy to have the expertise that we have in this part of the country and in Massachusetts in particular. But it goes a lot more than just medical manufacturing. We need to support the rest of the manufacturing base in the Commonwealth. So like I said, my first inclination was to complain about the lack of investment elsewhere in companies like Curtis. And then I took a step back and said, well, wait a minute, we really did get some what we refer to as workforce training grants, which is the wrong technical term, but forgive me for not having it right, but some training grants that we've used very beneficially to increase the skill set of our workforce. I look then at some of the other aspects of not just the Commonwealth government, but local government. The town of West Boylston graciously granted us a TIF agreement, a tax increment financing, which enabled us to afford the new facility that we're in. Mass Development funded the developer who built our new building and gave him the financing that he needed to make the proposition work for him and work for us. So we really do benefit as a citizen within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and it's not just the pharma. And for that, I do thank the Baker administration and broadly the rest of the Commonwealth of taxpayers for supporting manufacturing. Finally, from an innovation standpoint, we recognize at Curtis that what got us here is insufficient to keep us here, and I suspect that the rest of the award recipients today would echo that sentiment. We're looking to do better and better. The air conditioning is just the first of hopefully many things to come that'll create additional value to our products. So thank you again to Peter and the rest of the folks here.
All right, our next winner, Wormtown Brewery. A piece of mass in every glass is the motto Wormtown Brewery lives by. For Wormtown, it's not just about local ingredients, it's about collaborating with local companies to drive innovation and creative new product development. You may be familiar with Wormtown's collaboration with Dunkin' Donuts to create a dark roast brew for the darkest day of the year, or the collaboration with Table Talk Pies that literally had employees tossing pumpkin pies into the brew mix. But the company has taken collaboration efforts even further by creating a brew called Ales for ALS to support a local charity, and Bottle Rocket, a brew that commemorates the historic efforts of Worcester native and space-age pioneer Robert Goddard. Additional partnerships include Hop Culture, a nitro cold brew that uses acoustic Java coffee beans, proceeds of which support the Pink Boots Society, a nonprofit that helps women advance their careers in the brewing industry. In an effort that shows the close-knit ties of the brewing and food industries here in Central Mass, the owners of Hudson's Rail Trail Flatbread Company restaurant credit the Wormtown team for being a great resource and being truly instrumental in setting up the highly successful craft brew program at their bar. Managing partner David Fields described the company's philosophy behind its collaboration work. Here I quote, "If you can work with someone who's smarter than you and better than you and does something different than you, why wouldn't you? You learn every single time." It's that philosophy that drives the use of local ingredients and the constant collaboration with local organizations. So not just for developing delicious brews, but also part of that. Always thinking creatively and constantly looking out for new partnerships, we are pleased to present the Collaboration in Manufacturing Award to Wormtown Brewery of Worcester. Accepting our managing partners, David Fields and Ben Roche.
All right. On behalf of David and myself and a crew of about 35 other people back on Shrewsbury Street right now, I'd like to thank Worcester Business Journal for the award and congratulate all the other award winners. As you can imagine, being in the beer business is pretty fun. One of the reasons we try to increase the amount of fun we have is collaborating with local partners. As Brad just mentioned, the highlights this year included working with the Batista family and getting that Dunkin' Donuts brew going, which thankfully the people in Chicago heard about on their nightly news, but weren't able to drink because it was only available on Shrewsbury Street in the tap room. I'd like to thank Harry over at Table Talk Pies, who got a voicemail from me one day saying I want to throw some of his pies in the beer, and he actually called me back. And we've been doing it for 2 years in a row now, and I do want to highlight some of the other local manufacturers we've partnered with, some of the growers and farmers that we use in our brews, and also organizations that we try to support. And I had to pare this down a little bit. I had about 3 pages. So these are some of the highlights, and if you come by the brewery, I'll tell you about some of the other ones. But since we've been open, other breweries we've collaborated with in the local area include Gardner Ale House, Amherst Brewing, Northampton Brewing, Cambridge Brewing, Medusa Brewing. We partnered with Joe Zadrozny, sorry, Joe, of Z Street Brewing in Fitchburg. He was one of the pioneers of the Central Mass brewing industry back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Homefield Brewing out of Sturbridge. Other local breweries that have helped us make product or get to where we are include Deja Brew in Shrewsbury, Strange Brew in Marlborough, Isle Brewers Guild of Pawtucket, the Spencer Brewery, Foolproof, also of Pawtucket, and Pioneer Brewing Company, formerly of Sturbridge. When we get over to the ingredient side, we have a lot of people that we work with. First and foremost, Valley Malt out of Hadley, the first modern malt house east of the Mississippi, really the shot heard around the world when it comes to taking barley and wheat and rye and malting them, which turns it into something we can use to make alcohol. Now there's well over 40 or 50 small independent malt houses in the United States, and they were one of the first. Also, Fourstar Farms in Northfield, about 25 acres of hops growing right on the Connecticut River. And when you get to local ingredients, we do use pumpkins from Western Mass. We use Ewan's Sleepy Hollow, Sugar House up in Lunenburg's maple syrup. But when you really want to get to the beer brewing ingredients, without those two companies, we couldn't do what we do by putting a piece of mass in every glass. Some of our other local partners are Our Dog Glass, which unfortunately just closed in Milford recently, Dion Labels out of Westfield, Atlas Box in Sutton, Rand Whitney in Worcester, the Boston Honey Company, the Worcester Regional Food Hub. Chef Neil Rogers cut down a bunch of Buddha's hand for us in order to help us make our double IPA this past winter. And we've used blueberries from Vandervalk down in Mendon. And the list does keep on going, but those are the highlights for us. So it takes a lot for us to do what we do, and if any of the manufacturers in this room have an idea on how we could collaborate together, I'd love to talk about it over a beer. Thank you.
Let me just add one thing. I just want to note, for those who know where the offices of the Worcester Business Journal are, the fact that Wormtown is 600 yards down the street was not a factor in the judging, nor was the six-pack of Be Hoppy that we had for our final session. Thank you.
Kind of looking forward to the collaborations that come out with this. I think Curtis Industries could like fill a tractor cab with beer or something like that, or we could have like ThinkLite. You could do light bulb like flavored beer. I don't know, it tastes like electricity. All right, but our next award winner of our Green Manufacturing Award is Fourstar Connections of Hudson. Founded in 1986, Fourstar Connections was first established as a cable assembly shop. Since that time, Fourstar has evolved into a full-scale manufacturing company known for its innovation in product planning, design, and drafting services. The company helps clients through every step of a project, including new product consultation and development to complete manufacturing of the product. While Fourstar has honed its manufacturing prowess, the firm has simultaneously paid attention to sustainability in all the ways it conducts its business. Its approach to sustainability has been a holistic one, driven by President and owner Philip Holman, who has instituted a multi-pronged approach to educating employees on sustainable practices in their processes and supply chain, as well as their personal health and wellness. It does seem, in almost every photo on Fourstar's website, that there is a bowl of fresh fruit on the table. Phil, a quick question. Do you make sure that your team eats their vegetables? Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Fourstar has installed a 100 kilowatt solar array, and you can follow its generated power since installation live on its website. The company is also in the process of replacing lighting fixtures with energy efficient ones And if you didn't hear me earlier, there's a company called ThinkLite here that might be able to help you with that. The company has 2 Tesla charging stations, which are free to the public, and an aggressive reduction of hazardous substances compliance project, as well as a recycling initiative that includes the reuse of 100% of its cardboard. Fourstar is all in on its green thinking as it works to continually educate employees and support green efforts beyond the company, including a 401k program that is focused on sustainable investments. As a reflection of that green commitment, this growing company received a workforce training grant to improve sustainability and carbon disclosure reporting. For its deep commitment to the environment and sustainability practices, we are pleased to present the Green Manufacturing Award to Fourstar Connections of Hudson. Accepting the award is President and owner Philip Holman.
So when I found out I was getting this award, I didn't realize I was going to follow a brewery. And, we just build cable assemblies and stuff. It's like really boring. But we do consume a lot of beer, so I guess that... on behalf of the Fourstar employees, I want to thank the Worcester Business Journal for this award. We work hard on our sustainability initiatives, and to get a recognition like this is kind of exciting because some people don't even know what sustainability means, so to get recognized is really a compliment. Our goal is to help protect our planet and for our children and our children's children. And while doing so, we want to have a positive impact on our customers, our employees, and the company bottom line. It's unfortunate that more companies have yet to see the light on global warming and the likely negative impacts it will have going forward. I hope in the very near future that the things that we're being recognized for today will be the business norm, and we'll have figured out a way to exceed what we need to do to either decrease or prevent global warming. In the meantime, as an early adopter of sustainable practices, we're enjoying the benefits of being a thought leader in the industry. Companies should realize that not only it is the right thing to do, but it can differentiate your business from other competitors and open up opportunities for growth. So I want to thank everybody for the award for considering our company, and I encourage everybody to find out a little more about sustainability. Thank you.
If you've come up already, don't have your bling bag, just grab it later. All right. For our next introduction, I'd like to bring up John Killam again.
Almost there. Okay. Industrial Polymers and Chemicals Incorporated is North America's largest supplier of fiberglass reinforcements in the abrasive industry. Founded in 1959 by Ralph Dacey and Jerzy Engel, IPAC is working in a focused manner on becoming a lean manufacturer, constantly evaluating and improving its processes while reducing turnover and increase employee training. In a competitive global market, Industrial Polymers sees the high quality of their employees as one of the greatest assets. This is why the company has invested in actively cross-training employees, provide incentives for them to stay up to date on training, and they hold bilingual HR presentations so all employees can have a clear understanding of the benefits program. IPAC is partnering with MassMEP to meet lean manufacturing standards across the company. One of their recent lean initiatives is called the Lean Tiger Team. One of their recent, the Lean Tiger Team, a group of managers and supervisors that among its tasks has established performance baselines, improved productivity in a number of processes, and reduced the company's waste. Arthur Robinson, a customer, said they have been a terrific supplier. They're very customer conscious. Arthur Robinson worked with IPAC for 3 decades. In a world where manufacturers need to be competitive against rivals who can sometimes beat them on price, customers are choosing IPAC for their high-quality products and responsive customer service. In the excellence in workforce development and productivity category, please recognize Industrial Polymers and Chemicals of Shrewsbury. Accepting the award is President and CEO Rob Myrna.
So I guess the first thing I want to say is that I've been with this company since October of 2016, not that long. The founder, Ralph Dacey, was mentioned. The Dacey family history is strong in Shrewsbury. Our chairman is sitting at the table with us, Susan Dacey, who I'm very proud to succeed. I bring this up because all we're really doing is continuing a tradition of high quality through our employees. So my first thank you is for this opportunity from the Dacey family, and then I'll get on with the rest of my thank yous. So I'd like to thank the Worcester Business Journal, of course our sponsors, for holding this summit and giving local companies a chance to be recognized. We are very proud to be receiving this specific award. The foundation of workforce development at Industrial Polymers is really the implementation of lean practices. I want to specifically thank Jane Wilson and Mass MEP for their leadership and their guidance. And we look forward to continuing this relationship with Mass MEP. It's been very, very good for our company. I would also like to thank Ellie Parker, our HR administrator, for taking employee services, safety, and morale to a new level at IPAC. So Ellie, special clap for you. Thank you. She's joined us out here. In order to take IPAC to the next level, which was my directive from the Dacey family, our early focus has been to empower our employees at all levels of the company, specifically by giving them a voice and encouraging them to personally make a difference. There's a core team, it was mentioned, it's our Lean Tiger team that's been spearheading with Mass MEP many of these efforts. And even though they weren't able to join us because of the timing of the event, I would like to close my thanks by mentioning them. Bob Tarani, who is not an employee, he's a consultant, but he's a lean mentor of mine from my aerospace days. Bob Jolly, he's our shipping and receiving supervisor. Bob Ferry, he's our coding supervisor. Bo Gary is moving from our production management role to actually heading up our quality assurance at IPAC. So special emphasis and focus on quality assurance above what we normally do. Jamie Paniagua, he's our cutting supervisor, and our second shift cutting supervisor, Francisco Camacho. It's such a cool name. Special thanks to them too, because like I think every company that's been up here mentioned, it's really the people that have made this happen. We've simply just set things in motion. So thank you again for this award. We're very proud to have it.
Okay, 2 to go. The Excellence Award in the Small Company Division, the overall Excellence Award. The Sturbridge area has been a home to the fiber optics industry as it has grown and evolved, and Optim is a good example of a company that has grown up here and become a leader in manufacturing flexible fiber scopes with integrated LED lights. Optim's endoscopy systems are instruments designed to provide medical professionals with superior imaging for a number of minimally invasive procedures. But the technology also has other applications, namely for law enforcement and industrial professionals in clearly visualizing otherwise unreachable areas. Optim CEO Doug Hughes sums up the company's niche in a concise way. We're providing the ability for people to see clearly in places the eye can't normally see. 1971 must have been a good year for entrepreneurs, as Optim, originally known as Applied Fiber Optics, was founded that year, as was our next winner, Jeffco Fibres. And with over 4 decades of experience in fiber optics, Optim has become a recognized leader in its field with a reputation for quality and innovation. And I know one of the honorees mentioned earlier about, we're all in the business of innovation, and this company and the next one are both 47 years old. And you know that in that period that products are just reinvented, and where the company started is quite often they're in a whole bunch of other lines of business, and I think that's true for a lot of the firms here. Committed to lean manufacturing, Optim received a grant from Mass Workforce Training Fund to assist in improving their products, services, and the manufacturing process. The company provides continuous professional development for their employees, both internally and through third-party providers, as well as a monthly recognition program. Their commitment to educating their workforce also includes tuition assistance, which can go up to a full reimbursement for those acing the class. In the area of green manufacturing, Optim is continually improving their recycling efforts and efficiency programs, including ROHS compliant, which applies to hazardous substances. They are also a leader in producing fiber optics that utilize sustainable LED lighting. So for their entrepreneurial vision, for the incredibly clear vision of their products, and their ongoing lean and green manufacturing efforts, please join me in recognizing our Manufacturing Excellence Award Small Company winner, Optim LLC. Accepting for Optim. And accepting for Optim is their president and CEO, Doug Hughes.
I didn't realize I'd get to talk so long. I wrote a really short speech. I told Christian not to let me put too much, but now that I can talk longer, I know I'll go a little bit longer. A couple of observations. I've been with Optim for almost 5 years now. I took over as the CEO about a month ago, and the next day we won this award. So I called my boss and asked to renegotiate. I wasn't successful. He did invite himself to lunch, though he didn't come, but number one. Number two, we brought several of our valuable, skilled production workers. I thought it would be very good for them to hear what went on here today and to bring the news back to their coworkers. Then they heard how good they are, how rare they are, how skilled they are, how valuable they are, and I'm sure when I get back tomorrow, there'll be a long line in my office of folks looking for a little upgrade themselves. But well, you guys got that? We're good. Anyway, let me go back to what I wrote down. Thanks to the Worcester Business Journal for recognizing our company, and more importantly, for recognizing our people. As you heard, Optim is a small company. We're 50 people. We're not a small company of 500 people. We're 50 people. And it's a small facility, as you saw in the picture. But every day, we go up against much larger companies, companies with thousands of people and much larger resources. And every day, we win in the marketplace. And to me, that is a huge statement about the products that we make and the people that we have. We've built, designed, marketed fantastic products that are used in law enforcement, for security, and for medical, and they're saving lives in a number of ways. And we really value that, and it's the people at Optim that let us do that. So we appreciate the award, and maybe we'll win the big company award in a couple of years. I'm not sure what that cutoff is, but we look forward to that. So thank you very much.
By the way, here's our big company. They got about 150 employees. So we kind of draw the line a little different than the state or federal government. Is it $30 million or something on the federal level? It's a small business. They're kind of crazy numbers. In Central Mass figures, 150, you're big. Okay. Manufacturing Excellence Award for a large company, Jeffco Fibres. Also founded in 1971, as noted, Jeffco Fibres of Webster has become a recognized leader in the furniture and bedding industry. The company's use of modern foam and fiber technology to create mattresses and specialty packaging is a big part of what they've built their reputation on. And today, the firm is able to utilize 250,000 square feet of manufacturing space and employ around 150 folks. The firm is also a major supplier of specialized and technical fibers, including organic wools, listen to these, cashmere, alpaca, mohair, as well as several synthetic materials, including the Kevlar used in bulletproof vests. While Jeffco is always innovating and reinvesting in their product lines, it's their culture of excellent customer service that makes them stand out from the competition. A major packaging client gave the following testimonial. You can buy the same foam from 4 or 5 other companies in New England. We do business with Jeffco because of the way they support and service us. Thanks to a workforce grant and a training program from the Greater Boston Manufacturing Partnership, Jeffco is working on transforming into a lean manufacturer. Recent growth has seen Jeffco increase their workforce by some 40%, and with that growth, they've doubled down on training, bringing new folks up to speed, as well as doing lean training for their current staff. For their investment in new capital equipment and training, their dedication to customer service and constant product improvement and innovation, please recognize Manufacturing Excellence Award winner, Jeffco Fibres. And President Eric Lonstein is making his way to the front of the room.
Thank you so much to the Worcester Business Journal and the sponsors of this event. We are humbled and so appreciative of this recognition. The Jeffco family is still a family. We do feel more like a small business than a large business. And we have been so fortunate for the past over 40 years to have incredible partners, to have incredible team, to have so many resources come together to make us successful. Some of the people I would really like to thank include the Greater Boston Manufacturing Partners, the state of Massachusetts with the Workforce Training Fund, People's Bank, Insurance Marketing Agency, and we have many suppliers, many customers who have really made this happen and contributed to our success throughout the year. I'd also like to thank the founders of the company, Jeff and Blanche Lonstein, who have put their heart and soul into this company for this time and have given us and our team a chance and a platform to succeed. And most importantly, in my view, we all know that manufacturing can be challenging. It's a very competitive environment. There's different customer demands. There's different things that have come in our way. And we have the most exceptional team at Jeffco Fibres who fights every single day to take care of our customers at levels which continue to amaze me and inspire me. So I'd like that group, our team at Jeffco, please stand up. So that is the team that inspires me every day to have the courage to continue to trying to make those little things different, to try to innovate. And I can see that with all the attendees here today about that spirit of innovation and trying to find new ways to make their companies better. And I appreciate everybody here, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. And, you know, this might be a stretch, but I'm thinking Wormtown, there's a nice head on the beer, there's a foam, they make foam. Maybe we could tie that together somehow? Might be tough. Anyways, I often rush through this, and since I have a minute now, just to tell you, you know, when Chris and I talk about our different events, sometimes certain crowds run late, they're showing up late. Our manufacturing group is on time. Chris builds a few minutes into the program for those who go too long and lose their sense of time when they're on the stage, and that all collapsed, and we are finishing a good 28 minutes before we were supposed to. How about that, folks? We're lean. And so hopefully you can all stay and chat afterwards. I want to give some final thanks. A special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Mass MEP. John, you and your team, thank you so much. Our corporate sponsors, S&G Business Consulting, Select Energy, and Webster 5. And our supporting sponsors, Clinton Savings Bank, Greenberg Rosenblatt, Cull and Bitsoli, James Monroe Wire and Cable Corporation, and Quinsigamond Community College. And our exhibitors, again, Applied Interactive, Greater Boston Manufacturing Partnership, and Net at Work. Also special thanks to College of the Holy Cross, where we sit here today, Curry Printing, who did our printing, Elevation Exhibits, Revelation Productions. You know, when every panelist, other than when you hold the program in front of you, I mean, this has been sort of just perfect in terms of the AV stuff, and that's Revelation Productions and the wonderful work they do. Thank you, Anthony and your crew. Ron Brule Photography, the great Ron Brule, where is he? Took everyone's picture, there he is. And Through the Years Productions as well. So, but I especially want to ask, this is, you sort of leave here and go, what a classy event, and one of the reasons it comes out like that is because Chris Prosser, our events manager, puts these things together. Chris, I'm going to make you stand up for a second and wave from the back. Up, up, up. There she is. Chris and her team do a great job. We thank you all for coming. You know, someone mentioned it, this wasn't a good time for their managers to be here. Tell me a manufacturer has a good time of day for them to come to some event. So it really doesn't exist, and that could be 8 days a week. So we appreciate all of you coming, and I hope you all can stay and enjoy a little bit of networking and celebration. Thank you again.